grow as a grower? Are you tired of being put to sleep by your educational growcasts? Are you tired of hearing about products you don't fucking want and can't afford? Hi, I'm Johnny Apple, and joining me is everyone's favorite amphibian, the Reverend Pirate Frog. Join us as we sift through the bullshit on the internet and try to get better as growers. This is your average grow.
Hey, dude.
Hey, man, what's up?
You know how almost every night before we wish each other a sweet, sweet good night, you complain to me that we never, ever, ever talk about photos on this goddamn podcast?
You promised we would never speak of that.
Well, I figured it was time to go behind the curtain a little bit. But yes, I have been depriving you of quality photo conversation. And also, we haven't talked to one of our friends recently. So I'd like to introduce everybody to my buddy, the Terp Therapist. What's up, dude? Thanks for joining us.
How's it going?
What's up, man? Thanks for joining us.
Are we talking about
Thanks.
like photos or like those photos you sent me?
Oh, yeah. We won't talk about
those were also private, goddammit. Dude, what the fuck are you two doing to me tonight? All right.
I'm disappointed to find out how large those photos that get shared keep growing. The community gets larger, but you just get more exposed. No, but seriously, thank you for joining us.
It's just Zoom. Man. It's just a Zoom function. So, anywho, fuck it, man. Terp, man, thanks for joining us. What's up?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Not much, just my day off. So, and
awesome.
Rev asked me last week.
I did. I gave you so much time.
I normally have I like to start off by asking people what their relationship with cannabis is right off the get, right? So not like how did you get started in growing, but like what led you to consumption or to the path with cannabis, whether you consume or not. Like, how'd you get here?
So back when I started working at like a really big, I guess a little background on me is I work in healthcare, and I worked in healthcare for about 13 years. And I've always kind of been in and out of cannabis since, I don't know, early college days. It was always around. So, but I never really got into it until I had been working in healthcare for a little while. And a couple of the people that I worked with had brought me to some pop-ups that were in DC, and we got stuff there. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I really like the scene. And I was also looking for something that was going to help me with like sleep. So they're all like, hey, why don't you try this? See if this helps. And that's just kind of how I fell into it.
What was this? Was it a specific strain or something, or was it like edibles, or what was it specifically this that helped? Did it help? I assume it did.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
I've never heard of cannabis making anyone sleepy. What ludicrous disease.
I mean, well, dude, it's tough, man. I mean, I have a buddy too that is he's almost straight edge. Like he hates sugar. And he's asked me, and I've tried to get him to take just a micro gummy, and he's nervous about it. So I'm super interested with you being in the medical field. Like, what was it that made you more comfortable with it as an adult rather than a recreational kid? You know what I mean?
Well, I was always kind of like the straight and narrow kind of kid. And so when I was exposed to it in like my senior year of high school, early years of college, I kind of stayed away from it, and everybody was doing it at the time. So they were just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But nobody really like pressured me into doing it. I was always like the guy with the beer in his hand instead of a blunt.
Right.
And then one day somebody like just talked me into it. I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, I'll try it. And at that point I was like, okay, well, this isn't as terrible as everybody says it is. And like, I don't see.
They were lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those dare classes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
the next weekend you were shooting heroin. It was quick.
Black black tar stuff.
Yeah, it's straight.
the goddamn gateway drug.
Yeah. The worst
Jesus
gateway.
Christ.
No, but it is super
Oh my
funny
God.
that it's like you say you were straight and narrow, which is super, awesome. Obviously, it worked out well, especially going to college. But it's also funny that in society we don't bat an eye that it's like, yeah, I'll have a beer in my hand. Because I was the same way. You go to college and everybody's drinking fucking like
Dude,
gnarly, and they're like,
it's
"But you smoke?" It's
weird.
like
I've seen it.
you just puked for fucking 7 hours, bro.
It's so weird, the judgment. I hate to fucking see it, to say this, but I've seen it when it transitioned from illegal in New York State to fucking legal. As an adult, I witnessed it happen around other adults. They just all of a sudden it's okay, and it's like, ooh, like I told you the story about my aunt. It was crazy. Like all of a sudden she's accepting it. Like fuck off. Are you kidding me?
Some
Like
people need to have daddy tell them it's okay.
yeah, that's really like, and you just see that changing. Like it is okay. Like
Yeah, it's a
it's just
weird place
weird
and
that
time for sure.
people take
Yeah.
that literally it took legality for people to just like, even when it was medical in New York long before it was, and people still didn't like, oh, it's like, no, like there's so many properties to this plant. It's insane. So
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
hate to. I wasn't trying to steal your thunder. No, I lost my train of thought. No, you were saying that you weren't into it in your college days. So what led you to it then?
I mean, I kind of like was on and off. It wasn't like what I'm doing now, like daily
You would consume, but yeah,
recreational.
you weren't spending your majority of your free time caring
Right.
for the
No,
plant.
I wasn't reading articles on like
Yeah.
nitrogen consumption.
Exactly. Yeah, up at night worried about VPD and such.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I being in healthcare, it's really interesting to see how we kind of push pharmaceuticals a lot. And so all I ever knew was, oh, hey, take this pill, take this medicine for XYZ. And I didn't really understand like there's certain properties of this plant that cover a lot of these aspects in just one entity versus like breaking it down. Oh, I've got a headache here, take Tylenol. Oh, I've got like a knee ache here, take some ibuprofen too. And then eventually you start getting to these other issues where you get stomach ulcers and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Versus like, I take a hit and then my headache goes away and vice versa. Like I work out a lot, so I have a lot of muscle
Yeah, you do.
fatigue.
Doing this
Like,
shit.
let me ask you.
But
I hate to
do
interrupt, but I
appreciate
gotta
it.
ask you before you get off the subject. I gotta ask you: do you consume before or after your workout?
I do a little bit of both.
Nice.
So as of lately, shout out to BGG, that monster. But
A piece of human
I grew out
essence.
his Odin's Express, and I found that doing dabs of that prior to the gym, along with a little bit of pre-workout, is
You're
just
doing
it's
dabs of Odin Sons before a workout, you beast. Jesus.
You know what's
Christ.
super funny is I'm super glad we got into this somewhat naturally. I literally was thinking about I was going to bring it up later because you share working out occasionally and everything, and you encourage people to do it, which I think is super important, especially in this community. But I was actually fucking pre-thinking about what to ask you, and it came out naturally, man. All that shows is that I never have to pre-think about this podcast ever again, dude. But sorry, yeah, I think it is super important because people, you want to, like Cheech and Chong always said, the reason they stayed in shape was because they wanted to break the stereotype of a fat, lazy stoner. And I still think, think what you will of whatever, but I still think that's pretty important, man. Like when you work out, at least exercise and get moving. I think you can enjoy life better if you're able to, of course, better with cannabis too.
oh
But
yeah, 100%.
yeah. So how do you've obviously you have a history of working out. Have you I'm sure you did it in college before you smoked too. So maybe you can touch on the benefits of actually working out with cannabis.
I I will say that you kind of have to figure out what strains and effects are going to be beneficial for that.
There's going to be some R&D.
Yeah, 100%.
That's my problem. So I have my best friend's wife has been asking me to help her, like, in this regards. Like, she's tired of going to the medical shit. She was a medical patient, and it's just like it's so hard. It's like, I hate to say I can help you immediately because it's a long-term thing, and I have to be honest with her. It's like, I don't know. We literally, it's an experiment because we have to know what different. If exactly every person's different in the fact that they have a pharmaceutical rep at the medical store that can, like, and she didn't know. That is ridiculous to me. So I don't know. It's literally weird that we just teach these awkward, I don't know, these weird notions that there is possibly anything like one effect for every person. Like, you take this plant and it's going to have this effect. It's just, there's no way. It is an experiment.
No. It's and everybody's going to react differently to the different terpene profiles and cannabinoids. So I know G3 has been doing that a lot on the cultivation their podcast, and really going into depth.
We've heard of them
once or twice.
Yeah.
But I
she
think
goes over
helpful.
Each one. Yeah. I think when someone who has that knowledge and can break it down into words that are easier to explain to the masses, to us ignorant masses, right? Like, I'm not that dude. I'm not going to do it. So I appreciate it when someone smarter than me does and takes the time. So when are you going to do yours then? I'm just kidding.
I'm not that smart, but I do enjoy research and stuff like that. It tickles that little bit of an itch that I have that I don't really find in other things. And if anybody that knows me, if you ask them like what I do, is like, I have a billion hobbies. And if I have a hobby and I'm into it, then I'm going to research like every little thing I can find. It's pretty bad.
Do you hobby hop? Because I have that problem. I hobby hop.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So do
I
you
think
have
that's
like
healthy
parts of your home that are like tucked away with one hobby that like get dust on it for a while?
Oh yeah.
And you go, oh yeah, sure. I forgot I'm capable of doing that.
Yeah, like my 3D printer is sitting in my garage just collecting dust.
Yeah. I was about to say, I think it only becomes a problem to hobby hop if you have expensive taste, because I got a buddy who similarly, it's like top of the line of every instrument. It's like, yeah, he was totally going to play the saxophone after failing violin, guitar, bass, and it's like, why did he buy the best, dude? But yes, it is. I very much enjoy hobby hopping. I enjoy, like you said, the research. I think the learning is the more fun of it, to be honest, with a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're not learning, then like, what are you doing? I always said, like, if I had to choose one career path in life, it'd be like a professional student. If I could get paid to do that, then 100% I'd do that.
Oh, hell yeah. One of my best friends growing up was effectively that. As he was going and getting his master's in chemistry, he kept saying that, man, I just need a job that pays me to be a student. I was like, that sounds like hell, but to each their own. But I get it now that I've gotten older and sober. It's way easier to learn.
I've taken this notion with my students recently. It's like, listen, the only thing somebody can't take from you is knowledge. Plain and simple. Take it and take what it is and keep it. They can take your clothes off your back. The government can and will, but they can't take your knowledge away. So the more knowledge you have, that's the only thing you have to fight against anything else. That's the only fight you have in this world, is to put it in your fucking dome piece. Literally. So it's just a beautiful notion. What?
I want.
You say amen?
Amen.
I thought you said hey, man.
Amen. No, I didn't say hey, man. I'm not going to advocate for the government. Don't get I will never play the devil's advocate on that.
But that's literally, it's the truth, man. Knowledge is fucking power. It's the only thing they can't take from us.
I was just going to apologize on our behalf that this intro has gone on a 13-minute conversation to where at one point I asked him about working out and then immediately interrupted him. But he's a friend of ours. He knows. He knows the YAG welcome, but. Yeah, so you've discovered cannabis. You know that it works medically. It's kind of opened your mind to healthcare, and I'm sure that's a blessing. Working with people, being more understanding. When did you first decide to grow? Like, what got you into growing? Because spoiler alert to anyone listening, you have fantastic garden, and it's almost infuriating how amazing your garden is. But we'll get into all of that later. But yeah, what got you into it, man?
So I started growing in the state that I went, or the state that I live in went legal in 2021, I believe.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
so as soon as that went legal, I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. So for sure. Because I thought about it prior to that. Because I mean, nobody wants to go and pay like $200 for an ounce.
Yeah.
So I contemplated doing all of that and trying to figure out the best way to do it. The whole like buying gift cards and then using the gift cards or shipping cash
that
to go
yeah.
get genetics and stuff like that.
A lot to
Um,
risk for you, particularly.
oh yeah, for sure. And so I guess in 2021 I started, I bought my first like little 2x4 tent. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I immediately realized when I was vegging out some of these plants, I was like, that is not going to be big enough. So went and got a 5x5. And I actually started out in RDWC because I had researched a couple of different methods. And I was like, this is the coolest one.
Okay, don't speed past that because I don't think we've ever talked about RDWC on this podcast. So don't speed past that notion for the listeners out here. They might be a little bit beginner. What is RDWC?
So RDWC is essentially recirculating direct water culture, or I think it's direct water culture. But yeah, so you're growing
deep water culture, right?
Deep water culture, yeah.
Deep water, yeah. So everybody, a lot of people are familiar with deep water culture, but you essentially you close a loop, right, and like recycle it, constantly adding oxygen, right?
Correct. So you have air stones and like a main tank. So everybody is pretty much familiar with autopots now, and you have a reservoir. So kind of the similar situation. Instead of it going to the plants one direction, it comes back around. So it's a circle.
It's really
That's
cool.
the whole recirculating part.
I would have loved to get into that. That's awesome.
And
Yeah,
you
I bet the science nerd in front of
seen
you.
it with,
I
like-
wouldn't do it now.
It's basically like 5-gallon buckets, and the root mass just gets insane. In those things,
yeah,
right?
it gets huge.
Yeah.
I can totally see the research science nerd in you that was super. You're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna make this system amazing.
Yeah, up until the point where you realize that, oh, I've got way too much nutrients in here, and they're just burning.
2x4, you probably needed to flip that at week 3.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. See, and I'm not easy-handed, how they say, delicate. So it's not the life for me. I'm lucky that I can't keep the root temperature right. You know, I don't want to invest that kind of money, and I grow in a place that wouldn't be really good for it. So I'm glad I didn't have to do the science stuff because I would fuck it up so royally.
Yeah, that's a whole other aspect is you have to keep the water at a certain temperature or else you start to grow. You can grow other pathogens and stuff that will kill your root system.
It's a skill, man. My hat goes off to anyone that can do. I mean, my hat goes off to anyone who can grow any way they want. But that's some impressive stuff. I know our buddy Frostfire does, and
oh yeah, he does.
It's impressive, man.
You get some big plants.
How do you cool the water? What methods do you use? Do you have to like run it through a refrigerator?
So yeah, you can use like a glycol chiller, or you can set up a refrigerator to run it through it. Luckily enough, when I did it, I was growing in a basement, and so it was pretty cool. Like I had the reservoir sitting on the actual cement of the garage in the basement, and I have a garage in my basement. We're not gonna go there, but
I've seen houses like that. I'm a carpenter. I don't know.
Yeah,
what was that?
Carpenter.
You're a what?
I'm a carpenter.
You're a carp. No, that's amazing. I will always be jealous of people who can have a basement.
And I am also jealous of people with the basement and can drive into it.
I don't drive into it. It's specifically for all my junk. So
there you go.
Most people do too as well. Yeah. I wouldn't either. It could like the gas fumes in your house, but it is just nice to see and dream. Like if I had a beautiful Impala or something to pull underneath, that'd be, yeah. I love
Yeah,
it.
If I had a nice car.
So
at
yeah,
home,
I imagine yeah, it's probably if you have a basement, it's already cool. And if it gets cold in the wintertime, was probably the best time to grow then, right? Really easy to keep it cool then.
yeah. The ambient temp was like 70s at the
Oh
most.
wow.
So it was really easy to do that. So I did one grow like that and wasn't exactly super happy. And I was like, this is a lot of upkeep. And so I was like, okay, well, let's try other things. So I went the 2x4 bed route. Oh, I skipped a step. So I went and bought a 5x5, put that in the basement, had my RDWC in there, did one full grow, decided that wasn't for me, and then went the organic
Were you
route.
successful? Like, did you explode that tent too, or did you manage to get a good timing going on that one?
That was my first harvest. There's a let's go back because when I started buying genetics, I had no idea what I was doing, and so I bought
As most of us.
three autoflower strains, and one photo strain. And I
Planted them all.
yeah,
Hell yes. I love it.
so
Absolutely.
at like 18 hours of light, and then I had like three of these plants flowering. I was like, what is going on? I was like, I didn't realize that these are, and then one just wasn't flowering at all. I was like, hey, this one's like a runt or something. And then I quickly realized that I had put a photo in there with them. So I switched it all to 12-12. And so the photos didn't actually, or the autos didn't really get huge. But I was able to pull like a decent harvest off of those.
You
Why
got
not?
seed to smoke, man. You accomplished first on your first
Hell
run.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's a good job.
that is the hardest thing for anybody that starts growing. Like especially like the disappointment of like, oh, this is all LARF. You're like, okay, well, I guess I
Dude,
could try again.
what
But see,
happens is there's
I
so much
get that. Yeah.
information out there nowadays. So you're watching so much
get
or
overwhelmed.
consuming. So you literally get overwhelmed. So when you finally make the decision to plant the seed, or if you're crazy like some of us and just fucking plant it and then try to learn, you literally get overwhelmed nowadays, and you see everybody talking about deficiencies. So you're checking your plant all the time, and you're watering and you're overwatering. So to even get to your first harvest is miraculous, especially
yeah.
on an indoor grow. It is
Oh, I
always
always
just
like I was
the
gonna
tick.
say, I get for everybody, and we see it
Mhm.
week after week. They're worried about, oh, I didn't harvest enough or something, and I'm like, dude, your first grow, if you get it to where you smoke something that you grow, you won. There's no yield competition on first grow, blah blah blah. You win. You've done it now. Like Terp, you decided that you wanted to go organic or try soil after the DWC, the RDWC. So that's what you're supposed to do. You try something, you go, I want to try this. I'm going to do this, Like I didn't want to really get into organics when I was in high school and we first started messing with it. We wanted to grow deep water culture because it was Star Trek shit and we thought it was cool, right? We were reading shit in forums about this fucking strain tasting like cherry and strawberry and look at this picture, like, and then I ended up growing organic and falling in love. So who knew, So you took this and you got your first smoke, which is wonderful. And then you were like, fuck that. All that time that I put into that, I'm going to learn something else.
So where did you go from there? Now we got the 5x5. Where'd you go from there?
So I had the 5x5 and I was like, I'm just gonna go big. And so I got a 2x4 fabric bed. I put that in there. And then I also got
Dad has one of those. I can't wait to see what you have to say. I'm curious.
so I also
You put the big bed in the 2x4. What'd you do in the 5x5?
so I didn't actually put the big bed in the 2x4. So I just put it in the 5x5 and then I used the 2x4 to veg stuff. So
what were you using in the 2x4? What containers?
I had little 2-gallon containers that I was vegging in.
Okay.
Also,
so
after that first run, I was like, yeah, fuck autos. So we went straight photos after that.
They are finicky bitches. Yeah, I agree. Fuck them. So, How many from the 2-gallon were you transplanting into the 2x4 bed?
So I put 2 in the 2x4 bed, and then I also had bought a, what are they called, city pickers from Lowe's, I think.
Yep.
And I had put another 2 in that one because I wanted to try the SIP system. This is before I learned about SIPs and everybody talking about them. I was like, I'm going to try this because this seems easy enough. So we went and did that, and I had a pretty good run out of there. Grew some beautiful plants, and
Did you
I
start them in the city pickers? Or
no,
did you
so
start them in
they
the 2
they started in
gallons?
the 2x4.
Okay. In
Yeah,
solo cups or the 2 gallons?
no, in the 2 gallons.
How
Usually I
did you
do. Usually I do.
are they wider pot 2 gallons?
Yeah, they're like
Or
the black ones that are. I mean, they're pretty big.
so when you transplanted, when did you decide to transplant from the 2-gallon? Did you already have the bed established, or did you tuck soil around when you transplanted? Like the 2-gallon right in the bottom of the pot and then filled the soil around
Yeah,
it?
that's exactly what I did.
Okay, yeah. Because I was wondering, because it was just, to me, the 2-gallon
No,
pot was used for transplanting.
yeah, they're about the same size as far
Digging most
as.
of the soil out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're wider. They're a bigger box, right? Than like an earth box.
Yeah,
I've got a
yeah.
couple of them. I think they're the
They're
same thing. They're
square,
like
which is
blue. They're
pretty fucking
square.
cool.
Yeah.
You can
That's
fit
and you
2 in a
had 2 of
2x4 with
those
no
with your
issue.
2x4 and the 5x5.
Yes.
How did you like moving around in there? That sounds like a fucking dream.
It
Like, you
was
just
really
get in
nice
there
and
and
having all the space. Yeah,
I
I bought a little
know.
stool, which I'm sitting on now.
Look at all the space for activities.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
quickly realized that I wanted to do bigger plants and do more, so I eventually built a 12 by I think it's 12 by 12 room, and so I have a
Built.
I built, yeah, in the garage, my junk garage.
Jung garage.
So I ended up putting
Base garage.
base garage, yeah.
I know base garagement.
I was gonna say, why are you
Garagement.
going base? You got to go garagement.
Yeah, garagement.
I dig that. So a 12 by 12 room that you built. I just want to comment on how cool our fucking friends are, dude. Building
Yeah,
stupid
they're
little
so the dopest.
garagement.
I don't know why they hang out with us.
Pity, hopefully.
So how are you managing your environmentals then in this 12 by 12 space?
So in the 12 by 12 space, I actually was able to bleed my HVAC system into it. So I have that on a controller. I just have an AC infinity fan
Like
that I
a
use.
vent that tucks into the duct?
Yeah,
I've
essentially.
seen those, dude. Those are dope. How does that work?
They have them on Amazon. You just pick them up. It's literally in the side of my wall right here.
I didn't mean how do you get them? How well do you like it?
Oh, it works.
Well does it work?
It works well enough to keep my room cool for what I do. I don't ever blast my lights like full power, so it doesn't get super hot in here. And the only thing that really puts off heat are those and the DHU. So I can generally keep it pretty cool down here. And the ambient temp in the garage itself is usually much lower, like in the 60s, and it stays
Nice.
pretty consistent.
Do you exhaust air from the room?
No, I don't. So I kept it closed because I wanted to do CO2, and I did a couple runs of CO2 and realized it's expensive and like, yeah, it works, but at the same time, like I can just pheno hunt for those types of weight gainers that I usually hunt for, and then just do those instead of
And
like,
just spend time in the room?
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
I realized my CO2 is also really expensive, but I didn't have to do anything. I just exhausted my tents out. So there's this constant pull of atmosphere out of this room constantly. So it's just constantly getting fresh air. And that I realized how fucking expensive that is on my HVAC unit. So I mean, COT units or not, they're expensive. It's expensive to get fucking fresh air in. It really is, no matter how you're doing it. So, yeah, I get it. Can
yeah,
you not turn the lights up? It just gets too hot in there because you're not exhausting the air out.
I just have no need to. Like these lights, they're 720 watts. I have two in here in the like flower part of the room. And like they absolutely crush. They have a lot of red in them, so they put out like a lot of ppfd. Because I've measured it multiple times, and there's no reason for me to like crank it all the way up.
That's awesome.
It's
Man.
so bright.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool to be able to just fucking turn your lights down and maintain atmosphere that way. Hell yeah. So, did you, when you went to the 2x4 and the city pickers, what genetics did you go with? Because you mentioned you had no idea about genetics. So this is your third grow?
Yeah, third grow.
And what genetics did you find at that point?
At that point, I had gone with Soulfire and in-house genetics with that
Holy shit, yeah. How'd that run go for you?
It was great. I mean, the in-house genetics were stellar. Those were the ones in the 2x4 bed. And then the Soulfire, I think I ran Bahama Mama Bust Down. I don't remember which one it was, but those were a runts cross, and I was like, wow, these are awesome. They smell just like candy. I was like, these are sweet.
That's my favorite. I love. Can we just pause a moment for candy terps? Okay, we're good. Moving on. No, so a question about the 2x4 bed, because I mentioned Dad had gotten the 2x4 bed, but we put it in the 2x4 tent. It's a fucking bit much. I'm not gonna lie. It is.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it is the whole bed, so it leaves no room for a humidifier. We're constantly fighting this and that, and it's like and in order to get him up to proper moisture, to make him understand he was super underwatering constantly, I made him overwater, and then I maybe forgot to check in on him, and the water leaked through his ceiling because he grows in his upstairs. And yeah, so he then found out that overwatering, because he didn't have anything under it. Do you water to runoff in your 2x4 bed?
No, I just never.
So I think I'm experiencing the need to run off water to some degree. Like, no matter how much I water, and I'm noticing this because of the earth boxes and the SIP systems now, if I don't get to run off to at some point during the grow, I feel like I haven't saturated down to the bottom, and I can feel it in all of my beds. So I was trying to convince him, like, all right, he overdid it. So I was just wondering if you put anything underneath that the 2x4 bed and overwatered.
I definitely overwatered it a couple times, but then I quickly realized that they didn't need that, especially with the plants that I grew. They didn't get like massively big. It was enough to scrog out, and I was like, okay, this is perfect. It was nice, even canopy. It's like, let's flip the flower. But
so did you just water only because you knew they had that much soil?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice. Dude, that makes those grows so much easier. I love that. I've done it multiple times in earth boxes. Like, I don't have to do shit. Plant's big enough and it's got enough soil. Just ride. Love those ones. Tell me about the city pickers. How did those go?
So those needed some reamending. And at the time, I was really into Mr. Canucks. Yeah. So I primarily used the Gaia Green. And so that worked out perfectly.
Fuck yeah. Was it like did you still put the netting over top?
I had something built out of PVC pipes. And then I drilled holes in them and then just did a string through there. And that's how I made the scrog string.
Oh, yeah. No, I meant, did you still put the black thing over top of the city pickers for when you top dressed?
Oh, no. So I didn't have any of that. I actually used straw at the time as my mulch layer.
Hell yeah.
I've
So
since then gone to like
just
cover
the
crop.
Gaia Green. Did you do any castings or compost? Just the Gaia Green.
Nope, just the Gaia Green. Oh, and bat guano is what I used.
Fuck yeah,
Right on.
man. Hell yeah.
That
So,
one
and
is
that
fantastic stuff.
It's hot.
it's so
Yeah,
amazing.
it's super hot.
I'm afraid to ever touch it. I would burn the fuck. I'd just be like, dude, I want to use it so bad, and I'd just start fucking throwing it everywhere, knowing myself.
It's in so many super soil recipes that like eventually you'll, if you want to do that, you buy some and then you're like, well, that's the only thing I'm ever gonna need the bat guano for
Yeah.
a long time, because I wouldn't top dress with it.
No, I would maybe mix a little bit in like some worm casting food or something. You know what I mean? Just to start getting rid of it.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
thrown
yeah,
it in
put
teas
it-
before.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Teas
hell yeah.
and like feeding your worms, that would really set it up for the future.
Hell yeah. Are you still are you still in that same grow method now, or what's your grow style at this point now?
So my grow style at this point, it's evolved over the years, but I mainly grow in I call it super cocoa. So I do a base of cocoa. I use the Mother Earth's bricks, and they're already buffered, but I buffer them again. And I
How
get
long
these.
do you do it?
How long do I buffer it for?
Like, yeah. And by buffer, you mean you're soaking it in like CalMag, right?
Yeah, essentially. So what I use is the water soluble or the readily available like KNF water soluble calcium that I make from eggshells, and then I mix that with distilled water and fluff up the cocoa. Essentially, that's what I use to re-expand.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's amazing. That's super cool. So how much of that WCA are you making on a regular basis? I'd imagine fairly healthy amount.
Yeah, I've got the jars of it. I eat a lot of eggs since I go to the gym a
Good.
lot.
So that's it. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it fits. All you do is
So
eat
do I
hard-boiled
lately.
eggs. So
Yeah. So, Jesus, I lost my train of thought after fucking eggs. Goddamn eggs.
okay, so after you buffer it with the WCA,
Yeah, the buffering.
and
Jesus,
then you, is there anything else that you do to it? I'm interested in this super cocoa because so many people complain about not being able, like, your plant grows so quickly in cocoa, and especially in auto, it's really beautiful to see it transition through life very quickly. But it's also a tremendous amount of work for someone like it. So yours is really intriguing, and I imagine a bunch of people would be asking if you don't mind giving more detail about what your super cocoa is essentially.
So what I'm doing, I'm following the 30-30-30 rule or whatever you want to call it. So 30% or 33%
3-3-3.
base, which is going to be my cocoa, 33% aeration, which I use perlite because I have these giant perlite bags that I get at my local agronomy store, and they're super cheap. It's like $15 for like this giant cubic 3 feet. I think it's 3 feet or 3 yards. I don't know. It's huge.
Those massive ones, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then I use some sort of compost. I'm trying out worm castings has been my go-to, but I'm trying out some of this Coast of Maine stuff to see if it gets too hot. Because that's the one complaint that I've heard about the compost, and I've used some of it.
The Costa Maine lobster compost,
yeah,
or
the
which one
lobster
is hot?
compost.
It is hot. It is super hot. So, I think it's really, 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 really rich in nitrogen. It is super hot in nitrogen. I can see it every time I use it. They just go every time, and it's
You get that curl.
Yep, that it's obvious as fucking day that it's that nitrogen curl, and then I want to say it gets that aggressive yellow too on the tips, and I'm not sure which one that is. It's like maybe potassium, and it's just a burn because it's an abundance of something. I don't think it's calcium, which would make sense with lobster, but there's something in there that is super hot. You got to use that, or what I learned to do is just run that through my fucking worm bin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let the fucking worms fucking deal with what is hot.
When you make and you run that super cocoa into your beds, right?
Correct. Yeah.
When you run a test like this, when you run a test like this where you are like, okay, I'm going to try this different compost, how do you test? Because I I can't imagine you're filling a whole bed and you're like, well, if this goes sideways, I'm fucked.
So I've primarily been growing in 25-gallon fabric pots. So they're just like big enough to be half of a 2x4 bed, essentially. And so I've got a bunch of those. And so whenever I mix up a new recipe or like try different things, I'll just fill one of those and take my old soil out to my outdoor garden where I do like vegetables and stuff like that and just dump it out there, reuse it.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
You're re-amending your 25-gallon beds?
Usually I'm re-amending and then just going again. So I have one that's on its like 6th cycle, and that was living soil that I had used over and over and over again. And I just decided to put it in that giant 25-gallon.
So I got to ask you, because I'm getting to a point where I'm reaching after so many grows in these big vessels, right? I don't want to re-amend. I think I'm going to just scrape the mulch layer off and start again.
I think after so many runs, you definitely can. But a lot of people tell you go get a soil test because they can tell you exactly like what you think is going to be missing during that run. And like every strain is going to be different unless you're running the same thing over and over again. It may not have enough of one thing to sustain it for that entire run.
Yeah, which at that point it'd be just easier to fucking dump and re-amend. But
Yeah,
I got like
just top dress.
the bigger ones, I think I could do that. Scrape my mulch layer off, send the lower layer out for testing, and then re-amend to that the first time around and then start from there.
I will say if you have a good ecosystem already, like if you have lots of worms in there and you are cutting down and letting them eat all your cover crop, then the worm castings like replenish that site pretty quickly. It just depends on the cultivar because I've had some hungry bitches in here and they just eat and eat. And you've got to re-amend or else they get behind very quickly.
That's insane. I am seeing the exact same thing. What cultivars do you find the hungriest? Because I have one right now that is just, it came from clone and it was starving as clone, and I just cannot keep up with feeding this fucking bitch. What are you finding are your most feediest fucking phenos or genotypes?
Feediest?
Some of
I cannot let Feediest slide. I'm sorry.
Feediest. What did I say? Hungriest.
Hungriest works. You didn't say it, but hungriest. Sorry. Feediest.
Listen, I reject your reality and I substitute my
I'm
own.
happy listening to this. His style is amazing. I'm glad he's our guest. Please don't drop Feediest on him. He said he went to college. I'm already intimidated.
I didn't, obviously.
Yeah. So what have you found to be the hungriest part?
So right now I have a bunch of like sativa land races going that are nitrogen hungry, and I didn't realize this going in. One I've run through already, and then decided I was just going to scrap it because they get huge and they get elongated very quickly. So I think that's why they're such nitrogen hogs. But they don't like other nutrients. They don't like anything else. As soon as you start putting anything in there that's mixed, they start hating lives and looking like they're burned.
Mm-hmm. Holy shit, I'm experiencing the same thing. I see it in the form of the narrow leaves are fucking starving. Like, what is wrong with my soil? I just did a top dressing. Why are they fucking hungry? But then anything that's wide leaf in that plant is dark green and just happy and living life. Everybody's happy, but they're just like, they're bright yellow for some fucking reasons. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, holy shit. Narrow leaf are nitrogen hungry. For real.
Yeah, it's strange because I was always told that like land races don't need a whole lot, which they don't. And another like really good tip that I got from somebody was they said try to mimic the natural soil, which I mean is hard to do, especially when you don't know where most of these like you have highland ties and lowland ties and stuff like that. So like I don't know which soil to mix that's gonna replicate like a highland tie, but
and it's not like soil varies differently, 100 yards one way or the other oftentimes, so you could
Right.
just be wrong even if you knew exactly where it was.
So I'm dying to ask because I see this beautiful tangy tibaguana on your hoodie, and we're talking about photos. So you said fuck the autos, but there's tangy tibaguana right in my face. What are we talking here?
So
What are you growing now?
I've got a Tangy F3 going right now. And that's probably one of
Beautiful.
the bigger autos that I've grown. But
She does
majority of
that.
the stuff that I grow
You don't
is
say.
majority of it is photos. So
Just the one tangy?
just the
That's
one
the only
Tangy.
auto?
Oh no, that I lied. So I have the Tangy RBX going to for the Canna Bonsai grow along,
Yeah.
and then I think that's it for autos.
Hey, do you know why he's growing that tangy there, Johnny?
No, I couldn't imagine why.
Yeah,
Why are you?
I've
Why specifically did you decide to grow this auto flower again?
Oh, for the I think there was I want to say there's a grow along. I don't remember which podcast was doing it, but
one of the losers put it on. It was us.
No,
Damn it.
really.
We are those losers.
First I'm hearing
Are
of it. That was
sponsored by
yeah,
Albrije.
but it was an F2. He said F3. How'd you get the F3 already?
The
isn't
ones
it
that
isn't the
it's
Tangy
Are we beating?
3.0?
I feel like we're beating a dead
it's
horse.
no. Yeah, no. Every time he gets me with this, I swear he's a master troll. It's if you guys can't see the audio listeners only, Johnny has a beard going now, and it's getting pointy at the end, and I think it's influencing his personality just a little bit. Johnny
does.
So he grows mostly photos, right? Hence the photo talk. But you have a bunch of projects going on. I know you also have
do.
a bunch of other projects that I know you had a project that you canceled slightly because it wasn't worth it, which I believe we just touched on a little bit.
Yeah, the A5 Haze cross.
But what else is going on? Tell us what you're excited on right now, man.
So, I mean, this will excite some of the people in our community, but
The
I
good
came
ones.
I came across some genetics that were a recreation by Bodie. If anybody's not familiar with him, go look him up. He's a great breeder, and he's kind of like always in the background. But he did a recreation of the purple Pakistani Citral Kush. So I was able to get those seeds through an auction, and I'm doing a seed increase, but I'm also going to cross it to a bunch of things.
Holy
yeah, dude.
shit.
That's so cool.
Do you have a plan, or are you in the beginning phases of such?
Oh no, I'm sexed, and I've got clones of all of the. I'm just gonna cut it down to the PCK, and I have everything that I want to hit it to vegging right now. So, and then there's somebody that asked me. I'm not gonna mention his name because I don't know if he wants to be out there yet, but he asked me to do a little bit of a collab with him. So he sent me some of his seeds.
Righteous.
Hell yeah.
Are you saving the pollen from the male, or are you just saving the male and keeping him around?
So I'm gonna keep. There's 2 males that I sexed out of the 6 seeds that I popped, and then I'm gonna keep at least one of the males around, and then maybe just take pollen from it. I've got a freezer full of pollen from my last project, but yeah. So I'm gonna take at least pollen from that male, and then everything else will get killed off, and I'll just go into the I don't know if they're F2s or F3s, but I'll go into that next generation and hunt through there.
Right on. What were you looking for or hoping for particular, or were you just kind of like whatever strikes your eye? Did you have a game plan, or did you yag for it?
I was just looking for the biggest, broadest of leaves.
What a horrible thing to say. To come onto this podcast. Did Howling send you? How much did he pay you? No, I'm just kidding. I got you. What else would you? I mean, if you went for the most narrow, you'd be like, "Why are you hunting this?"
So, really, in reality, I'm looking to create some hybrids, and then find something through there and look for a nice male to use as breeding stock.
Right on. Can't
That's
knock that,
fucking
man. How wonderful.
beautiful.
I know.
Beautiful.
See,
And
Johnny,
you
you
said
get a
you've
little
got how
photo.
many? You've got how many you've nutted on right now?
Jesus.
So they haven't gone into flower yet. But I believe that is the correct term, Johnny. You're right.
I thought so. I thought as much. How many are you gonna?
There's going to be at least 4 females from just the PCK. And then I've got a plethora of other females I'm going to hit it to.
Nice. How
Uh,
old are they?
Oh, I don't know, like 6 weeks ish.
How did you
So-
sex? Did you send for DNA early, or did you?
No,
do
I
it
just
yourself?
let them show maturity.
Mature. Nice. Hell
I
yeah.
feel like it's the easiest way, especially since I'm taking cuts. So
My problem is it is the easiest way. Now that I've learned to pick it up early enough that I've seen the early signs, my problem is space. Is because I'm always intended that I've planted them once they're big enough to. I've got to make a selection early enough so they're always in a permanent space. I got to move them out of the small space, and with the big beds, it's just fucking a pain in the ass because it's hard to sex them in a solo cup in a fucking half a 2x4.
I mean, if you
But
stress them hard enough, they will.
You would think by
I
being
don't
in
like.
your
I don't like
presence, Johnny, they would just start showing.
Just shake the
Well,
vacuum at them.
It only works
The
for
problem
kids
is
anymore.
he
The
would
kids and the
fucking do
dogs.
that. No, you would do that and you would accidentally fucking suck one up because you'd be like, oh shit. That's why it's banned in the grow space.
It is too. It is. I use a broom until there's nothing growing.
Amen. So
Don't fucking judge me.
what would you say, Terp, is I'm assuming, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the reason that you use is medicinal. And I would assume that you said you were originally looking for sleep. Is that what's still kind of you're looking for in your medicine and in your flower, or
This seems
have you?
kind of directed, but
Yeah. No, just answer these questions. Fill it out. I'm trying to get a bearing of what kind of person our guest is, really. You know, Johnny, you still got that list present?
I
Yes.
do, but I want to hear this one first.
So no, I actually prefer more of the narrow leaf effects.
Oh, good.
I like
good.
those upbeat, energetic, ready to go.
You got older and needed it.
Yeah, that's 100% what it was.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm not it like I used to love all of the broadest, like put me in the couch. That was yet my idea of a great time. But now I need something to get my ass out of bed and to work. And I don't need more of an excuse to fall asleep. Every single minute of every day I could fall asleep if I so needed it. But I need that work, you know. But yes, I'm thinking that the way that I seem to think you work, Terp. Now it's mostly just get up and go. Get your ass to the gym.
Now, don't get me wrong. I like broadleaves too, but usually they're more like the poly effect type stuff.
Well, it's okay. You can say whatever you want positive about broadleaf. We'll cut it anyway. We just edit it out.
I can't wait till he listens to the show and realize how much we actually edit these things. It's gonna be hilarious.
All of it. He'll be like, wait, they didn't do jack shit.
Holy shit, I'm a turd.
This next episode is like 10 minutes long.
Yeah. We've actually just cut it to where you say, thank you for having me. You're great.
Yes. So we had Terp on, and here you came and went.
No, he was too excited when I was like, yeah, we're gonna talk about photos. And I know he has some photo projects, and he was like, fuck yeah, man. No more of this auto.
Son of a bitch.
Photos are just easier to work with.
Do you do any more gardening now? Is this your first experience with gardening?
No, it's not. So we've done outdoor gardens for some time now. I want to say like 6 or 7 years. So it's always a small outdoor garden in the summertime. And we just grow our own food. And I really got into like pickling stuff and canning stuff for a little bit. And I mean, I still do. It's just sometimes keeping up with the garden indoors and outdoors can be a lot.
You're preaching to the choir. It for sure is. How big of a garden space do you even try to maintain?
So in that, I have a little enclosure. I don't know how big it is. I do have it fenced up with like 5 foot fence because we do get deer in our backyard pretty often. But I've got a two 8x4 beds, and I think I think it's a 12x4, or maybe might be bigger than that. Might be 12x6, and then a 4x4 bed.
That's bigger than I started my first year at this house. That's incredible. Yeah. It's a lot of fucking space to even try. Like, you could grow so much in that little amount of space. To even try to think about preserving all of it becomes overwhelming about this time of year. You're like,
Oh yeah, yeah. We were so tired of tomatoes.
yeah.
It's gonna be in it. Yeah, you're like, I just can't.
It's
do it
amazing
anymore.
how the tomato bed shrinks every year. It's like, I'm over them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we haven't seen as many wonderfully photogenic tomatoes from your patch this year, Johnny.
Yeah, I only had the only pretty one I grew this year. I forget. It was Alice Dream, and it only had just some like striping, kind of like the pink one that I was growing or whatever. Other than that, I grew like a beefsteak and then the jerseys. But it was like, how much fucking tomato sandwiches can I eat in July? And how much fucking tomato sauce am I even really going to consume? I don't fucking eat that much spaghetti and eat that much fucking toasted cheese and tomato soup. So I got to make some ketchup, I guess, is the next best thing. And that's fucking like, all right, now I got to make fucking ketchup. Now what I'm making ketchup and preserving the broccoli and the holy fuck, it's a lot.
Sounds
I
like too
feel
much
ya.
work.
It is. But it's so fucking good, though. It feels so rewarding once you finally get it done. You're like, fuck, man, I got to get this done or it's going to be a fucking waste of my entire summer. Right?
Oh, exactly, man.
Yeah. But
You-
so I asked you that to lead to these next questions, which was are just eloquently put because Padre made me come up with questions to ask our first guest ever. So this is where these questions came from, and I have to ask you: what is the first seed you ever planted, and why was it an apple seed?
So I actually know this one. My mom kind of hammered in my love of the garden at an early age, and so I think I was 4, and we
Hell
did a watermelon plant.
Ooh,
Holy shit! Hell yeah!
that's an
How'd it
excellent
turn
one.
out?
How rad.
Oh, it was absolutely shitty, but I got a little watermelon. It was like, I don't know, 9 inches in diameter, but still got one.
That's amazing.
Hell yeah, dude! That's awesome. Um, what's your favorite pie, and why is it apple pie?
So it's actually cherry pie. I know it's
Ooh,
disgusting, but I think BGG also said cherry pie.
I don't think he's ever been on this podcast.
Who's this
I'm
now?
not familiar. I'm not familiar with that name. No, I'm sure he said meat pie. If I remember correctly, I think he said
meat.
meat
Oh
pie.
yeah,
Yeah,
meat
Meat
pie.
pie.
yeah,
Yep.
meat pie.
The
No,
vegetarian
the cherry pie.
said meat pie.
Do how often do you have a good cherry pie? Major holidays? Do you get into it?
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
I can't just eat cherry pie every day.
you could, but not for long.
So weird. I am such not. I want to like pies, but they're just. It's like so much all at once. It's. I don't know. I like
Yeah, I'm
them,
not a
but
pie
it's
guy.
like once or twice a year. I might have a slice or two kind of deal. I feel bad every time I
If you
want
liked
somebody to
holidays,
make me
you'd have
one. It's
more.
like, what? How? No. We're not going there.
I
What's your
know.
favorite
Moving
fruit,
on.
and why is it apple?
Sure as hell ain't apple.
So I'm gonna have to go the citrus route and say oranges.
Yeah, buddy.
This was a good show. Thanks for joining us. It
Oh,
was great.
he disagrees with you for 1 second, and you abandon him. It was all
No.
photo all night, baby. Although we never let him finish a thought, of course. But we have also updated. See, this is how funny. We had those 3 terrible questions, and we thought we need to add on to this. We should do better questions, and we added more terrible questions. Johnny,
Isn't it pizza? If you first walk into a pizza shop, right? Your first time in, you're just getting a slice. Cheese or pepperoni?
We're gonna go pepperoni.
yes, yes. Yes.
I wish we'd have cut it when I said to cut it. Why didn't you listen to me?
I know I should. No, wait, no. I'm enjoying this. Like everything comes to a balance, man.
Oh, beautiful. What is your go-to sandwich? I gotta ask this last one. What's your go-to sandwich?
My go-to sandwich, probably a Reuben.
Ooh, I
Those are so
don't
good.
know if anyone's chosen a Reuben. That's a good
Pastrami,
one.
kraut.
Pastrami's good. That's where you
Mhm.
lose me.
Rye bread.
I can do
Rye bread
I
and
can do
legend.
everything but the kraut. And I mean that in general too. Get those krauts out. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, we decided we went right for another country. We're not even going
I
state this episode. We're going countries
I
again.
don't think that the Germans you're related to can complain that I insulted them.
They're too young.
They're too. I don't think they can sue half themselves. No. Okay. Ruben's an excellent choice. I approve of it. Now, before I give a totally thoughtful and meaningful closing ceremony sermon, do you ceremony? Jesus, I'm exhausted. Do you have anything, my dear friend, that you would like to plug before I thank you and we get out of here?
Probably not. Oh, Topo Chico water. It's the best.
If
We've
they
had
don't
this
give us a
discussion
sponsor, I'm willing to sell out to Big Water. That is, we hate sponsors and sellouts and all those influencers, but if it's for Big Water, I understand.
Really,
That
you're
is
not gonna.
morally-
I'm going Chuck Norris water. If we're gonna root for water, I'm going Chuck Norris water.
There you go. Well, I'm just saying, any Big Water company insert here, I'm willing to sell. I think there's one that just literally pumps the mountain tap water in a nearby Arrowhead water and just sells it to everyone else in the country. I will sell Yag
What
in
it
a
means to
heartbeat
be
to those.
from Maine.
I had a
There
buddy
you go.
one time have me drive like an hour and a half with him so he could go get spring water.
Oh,
Must have been pretty good.
my past employer, we did a lot of stuff with water, and the people that are associated with some of like the pseudoscience with water always are funny because they'll get alkaline water and then like squeeze a lemon in there, and you're just like, well, I don't know if you know how pH works, you dumb shit, but all right, and it's just they'll make those kind of. Anywho, that's a whole nother can of worms. Thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate it. Sorry it
Yeah,
was
of course.
disorganized and chaos. That is the Yag way. You'll come on back on the circle where we used to promise that it would be less chaotic because Stoney and Howling were there, but they've just succumbed to our negative energy, and the average hasn't gone up. The average is continuing to fall. But
What a pitch!
yeah, they come
Thanks
back
for
for
joining
another
us on that
terrible
shitty
interview.
show. Come join us on another shitty show.
I figure because we're friends with him, he's kind of entitled to, or not entitled, but he's kind of has to. So he has no choice in the matter. Just like when I asked him if he wanted to join us here.
Sucker.
I believe the response you got was, "I thought we were friends."
Yes, that was. Yes, I wanted to touch on that. Thanks for reminding me. He was so adamant that we not do this. He didn't want to ruin our friendship. But I know for a fact that you grow fantastic weed. I've thankfully sampled it, and I love the way you grow. If everybody can follow him, he posts beautiful pictures, and you listen to us, you realize we don't know what we're talking about. He does. So, like I said, that balance, go follow him. But just to get out of here, I wanted to touch on something that you brought up, and that is that learning new things and getting excited with the hobby hopping and that excitement in research. And I think everybody should, at the very least, learn as much as you can. It will suit you in all avenues, right? You might learn enough and find out it's not for you, but it grows you completely. Don't be a dick. Mind your own business and go with Frog.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for Terp for joining us. It was
Thanks for Terp.
Thanks for Terp. Sorry,
Thanks for
fucking-
Terp.
dude. My
Thanks,
mouth
guys.
is so dry. I need a water so bad.
No.
Anyways.
It was fun. Thank you so much for joining us, dude.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Peace.
See ya.